Health for the National Center for Environmental Assessment, and CIA, as we call it in the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency. She has degrees in biology and graduate studies in toxicology. She is the principal author of EPA's Methods of Derivation of Inhalation Reference Concentrations, which anybody who does risk assessments for chemicals has used the RFCs, and Application of Inhalation Dosimetry, which introduced dosimetry in physiologically based pharmacokinetics, PBPK, model structures, and reduced forms into the RFC methods for interspecies adjustment. She has worked on several high priority and interdisciplinary agency assessments, including the risk characterization of perchlorate ingestion and inhalation of particulate matter, and has served on an advisory capacity on other methods and assessments, including the guidance of body weight scaling for harmonizing non-cancer and cancer approaches for the interspecies adjustment of ingested chemicals. Her current research efforts focus on multi-scale modeling of dose response and decision analysis. And the co-speaker is Lyle Burgoon. He's a leader of the Systems Biology and Bioinformatics and the Deputy Program Director for advancing the next generation of risk assessment program. He's part of the National Center of Environmental Assessment, and he's with EPA also, PhD in pharmacology, big word, pharmacology and toxicology with environmental toxicology. And he's leading NCIA's effort to incorporate molecular and systems biology data into science assessments and ultimately into risk assessments through a combination of data analysis, integration, and mining, knowledge, capture and management, network theory, and software engineering. Dr. Burgoon's expertise and experience includes development of hardware systems, high-performance computing, offensive and defensive tactical and strategic cyber defense. He continues to provide knowledge and expertise in software engineering, big data analysis, high-performance computing, cyber defense, and computational biology with collaborators around the world. Annie and Lyle, please start your presentation.
Thank you very much, Jean. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I especially want to thank Jean not only for the invitation to present to you today, but also, of course, to accommodate my biological condition, which is a broken leg. So I also appreciate the audience's patience with this novel way to present. Perhaps we're pushing the innovation envelope here with this. I also wanted to just mention that my, as you heard, background is mostly biology, and want to offer at the onset, as opposed to the advances that we've seen in the environmental media and hydrology, that we have quite a ways to go in terms of health risk assessment to catch up with the integrated modeling efforts, and that was one of the motivations for this particular project. I did not note either my name or Lyle's name on the first slide, because it really is a team effort, as I will describe for you. It is part of a innovation initiative that was put forward under the Office of Research and Development of the U.S. EPA. Paul Anastas, as I will describe, put forward this particular initiative. Ours was awarded, and it's known as Global to Genome. Next slide, please. The topics that we would like to cover today are what the Pathfinder Project initiative is, what our particular Global to Genome program hopes to address, who's on the team, what we feel are the problems that we're trying to address, and the promise of what we're proposing, the process and products that we will be undertaking to do so, the partnerships we hope to foster, including I would offer with each of you there in the audience, our progress to date, and have an open discussion. Next slide. In terms of the Office of Research and Development initiative within EPA, known as the Pathfinder Innovation Project, it was a set-aside in the fall of last year, 2010, to stimulate new ORD research. Joseph Fiskel mentioned that ORD is in the process of an overhaul. This was part of that process. the innovation program needed to have an emphasis on sustainability, and these projects, importantly, are viewed as one-year seed projects. So basically, they were a launch project with an idea to try to stimulate new advances in research avenues. The competition was announced in October. It had a rapid time frame, literally only a few weeks to develop the proposal. The proposals were submitted directly to the headquarters innovation team, led by Peter Pruce in the Office of Research and Development, and then they were peer-reviewed and evaluated by one of 3 external panels who were comprised of highly regarded scientific innovation and sustainability experts. There was a great response. The initiative had 117 proposals with more than 200 scientists participating from the Office of Research and Development, and 12 awards were made in the end of January of 2011. These were based on the recommendations from the 3 external panels, and we were very proud to be awarded one of them, and that G2G was considered a game changer by the expert panels. Next slide. The Global to Genome project had this specific goal, which was specification of a computational platform for EPA-wide seamless data flow and computational modeling in support of health, ecological, and climate risk characterizations. So obviously it has the integrated modeling concept for our agency first and foremost in mind. And most people have reacted to this as, well, who can have a problem with mother and apple pie? This is a great idea. But as you've already heard in the previous talks as well, the devil is in the details, and we certainly have also come into issues of terminology and what does a model mean. Next slide. So speaking to that, we do want to offer a few concepts. As we mentioned at the beginning, innovation is intentionally a high-risk endeavor, so we knew that this was a very broad and ambitious project. We want to make sure that it's appreciated that this is specifications only. The system is not being built. It's only a year project, obviously, and there is a very limited budget associated with it. But what we hope to do and serve is to foster the nucleus of ongoing activities for implementation in out years, and that it will provide support to RAP projects. That's an acronym I failed to explain to you. Stands for Research Area Programs within EPA. These research area programs were recently developed almost in a parallel time frame, and it is what Dr. Fiskell mentioned to you before as well, that the ORD research programs have been realigned. I will speak to that in a little bit. But we do hope that this project could support those projects and models that are under development within those research areas. We do acknowledge the differences and that technology might not be limiting, and terminology is very much so. We also have had the experience that model to some people is something very different to another. When you think about what we need to address and incorporate in health risk and now ecological risk as well, there are very, very different concepts of modeling, so we're aware of that issue. The scope is intended to be modular. It is not going to be a behemoth system, but rather component or modular based, and we would expect the system to evolve with time to cover across all of EPA. And most importantly, one of the aspects that we had proposed and which was very welcome with respect to the external peer reviewers was to provide public access. Lyle, do you want to speak to anything here?
No, I think the only thing I want to mention is that the biggest thing that we've come to grips with is the cultural issues around the semantics. And I just want to emphasize that I think we've heard some of that as well today. So that's all.
Next slide. So in terms of the team, we did try to, because we wanted it to be interdisciplinary and recognize that we do have those disciplinary specific issues. We did attempt to have a diverse set of team members from NCEA. There's Lyle and myself. I'm the co-chair, as well as David Miller, who's a postdoc up in NCEA, Washington. From the National Health and Environmental Effects Research Laboratory, NHERL, there's Rory Connolly, who is the co-chair, Stephen Edwards, and William LeFew. From NERL, the National Exposure Research Laboratory, there's Michael Breen, Rocky Goldsmith, and Cecilia Tan. And from OSIM, the Office of Science Information Management within EPA, we have David Lyons. Next slide. We also, as part of this process that we'll describe, very much view others as critical peer review partners. We couldn't have everyone on a team, but we hope to incorporate and use expertise as we go along to as much extent as possible. I think that's already evident with how much we rely on Jean for some of our activities. We want to go across the agency with the Office of Air and the Office of Air Quality Planning and Standards, OSWR, which is the Office of Solid Waste and Emergency Response, Pesticides, the Office of Water, the Office of Environmental Information, Homeland Security, and the regional offices. One thing to emphasize here with respect to appreciating the structure of EPA is that each of those special offices often have a specific mandate with respect to environmental regulation that they need to support. Water, for example, with water pollutants, air quality planning and standards set the national ambient air quality standards or regulatory standards for hazardous air pollutants. Homeland Security obviously has other risk assessment, specifically human health risk assessment needs, as well as environmental damage risk assessment needs. So all of those different offices, and in particular regional offices, which are really where the rubber hits the road and have very local face of EPA with stakeholders, each of those are going to have critical aspects that we need to address and incorporate. External stakeholders, as the previous presenters have so eloquently articulated, are to advance the science and an appreciation for the need of integrated modeling. The professional societies that we have involved already are the Society of Toxicology, the Society of Environmental Toxicology and Chemistry, the International Society of Exposure Sciences, the Society for Risk Analysis, and IEMSS. We'd also, at least in terms of the workshop that I will describe, OpenMI and OGC have agreed to attend. So we're hopefully integrating with those folks as well. With respect to the other sectors, not just government, but academia and the private sector are also very interested, invested in seeing how this project advances. Dow Chemical, for example, we've had an interaction with them, and they're very interested in this type of modeling. They've done something similar for a pesticide of concern of theirs with the OPPT, the Office of Pesticides within EPA, yet they had to cobble different models together on their own to do so, and they were ecstatic when they heard the idea that the agency might actually invest in creating a platform for them to do it in a collaborative fashion with us. So we very much view the need for critical peer review partners and hope that you'll participate. As I mentioned, we think that the G2G platform can serve a central role in advancing these new research area programs that Joe Fiscal mentioned. These are 4 different areas: chemical safety for sustainability, air, climate, and energy, sustainable and healthy communities, and safe and sustainable water resources. There were over, I think, 15 different research area programs that were condensed into 4 by this reorganization of the ORD research, and these are the 4 now going forward in a very integrated fashion. And we were extremely pleased to see the G2G project